Hey, you are now rocking with the best. Ro Parrish, Jesse Holly, Bleav in Cowboys, brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, Jesse, that game, bruh. I mean, it felt like watching, two dudes playing Madden, and they're just going back and forth, up and down the field. People going for it on fourth down. Cowboys end up pulling out the victory on their home opener in overtime in dramatic fashion. Walk-off field goal, Brandon Aubrey, 1,000,000 points scored, 1,000,000 yards on the field. Just looking at everything, the way it unfolded, what was your biggest takeaway starting from this game?
I'll start on the positive side of things. It is I don't care what people say. I don't care how people try to frame this whole thing. But Dak's a good damn quarterback. Okay, let's just Dak's a damn good quarterback. And I know people are going to say, but he hasn't won anything. He's a good damn quarterback, period. And you're not even anywhere close into this contest. And I get it's the football giants and all that. Dak is a good football player. I don't just feel how you feel, love or hate him. If you're a Romo guy, if you're a Dak guy, I don't care. The dude can play the game. Period.
Right. No question.
Period. And you saw that on display. You saw that just, down and down out, the spirit and the will of never dying, never saying quit, and just putting the team on his back with anticipatory throws, dots he was throwing, maneuvering in the pocket, because it wasn't a pretty pocket. I can tell you that for sure. Understanding when it's time for me to take off and run and go. Just play after play after play. And, it didn't start off great for them, but that's the thing about Dak, man. He doesn't waver. It doesn't matter. Good play, bad play, next play for him. And, is he a top 5 quarterback in the league? Okay, no. Is he Lamar Jackson? No. Is he Josh Allen? No. He's a good damn quarterback. And your team is more than lucky to have him. And you guys are going to realize this because the Cowboys have found luck for the last 20 years when it comes to this quarterback position. Look around this league. Look around this damn league. There's a lot of teams that would give their firstborns to have Dak Prescott as their starting quarterback who have been – think about this for a second. Cleveland has not found a quarterback in 20 years.
Yikes.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
They have not found a quarterback in 20 years. You think Carolina wouldn't like to have Dak Prescott? You think Arizona would like to have Dak Prescott? You think that you saw what Geno Smith and the Raiders did? You think the Raiders would like to have Dak Prescott? Seattle would like to have Dak Prescott? Minnesota would like to have Dak Prescott? I promise you. San Francisco would like to have Dak Prescott. I'm telling you guys, you're gonna realize this when he's gone, and whether that means he has playoff whether champions or whatever like that. Life is different when you don't have a dude that knows how to spin that pill, and they have it right now. And Dak was amazing in that game.
No question about it. You can probably name about 10 to 15 teams in the NFL that would like to have a quarterback like number 4 who passed for 360 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 questionable interception. You can look at the replay. Maybe the ball hit the ground, maybe it didn't. However, it's still on the record. But the point is, the most important stat is another win against the Giants. That is now 14 consecutive wins against the New York football team. And when you look at Dak, obviously threw a lot of passes. You basically played a full game and another quarter, 52 passes, but still, he was able, as you said, to make the right throws when he needed to make those throws. And for the most part, couple of drops here and there, but we saw pass catchers do what they needed to be done. We saw CeeDee come back and have a major game. We saw George Pickens make his presence be known in his home debut, coming up big with that late touchdown on that quick out and a big catch in overtime to set up that field goal.
Yeah, no doubt. And one of the things that I broke down on one of my other shows was just how, and kudos to Brian Schottenheimer, because the way that he set up George Pickens for that touchdown. And Ro, you know this as a former football player. Whenever you go into the week, whether you're offensively or defensively, you get your playbook and automatically, first things first, they say, hey, here are the guys that we have to worry about, and here's what they do. And for George Pickens, it's, hey, he's tall, he's fast, he's physical, he has a great catch radius. go balls, slants, deep overs. So already it's ingrained in the DB's mind, this is what he's going to do, right? And what Shotty was doing throughout that whole game, if you go back and you watch George Pickens' touchdown, he runs like he's running the slant, then like running the go, and then he runs a quick out. But all game was set up because what was he running? He was running go routes. He was running slants. So the DB, like, oh yeah, coach has been saying that. They're looking at the positioning. Oh, he's outside the numbers. What routes are he gonna run outside the numbers? Either a slant or a go. So all of these things are playing in his mind, and then he comes up the ball and he jabs inside, and he goes, oh, slant. The DB jumps to that, and he goes, nope, I'm going outside, and he rushes to the outside to meet him at the back of the pylon. Then he goes, whoop, I'm running an out route to the front of the pylon for a touchdown. So shout out to Brian Schottenheimer of being able to set that up throughout the course of the game, where he felt that now that we have the opportunity to go and do it. Kudos to George Pickens for running a great route and a touchdown. But when you have that level of player, you can do those things, and now you just have CeeDee Lamb do what he does. But this is the maturation of what this offense will be. And you can even tell Dak Prescott and George Pickens, they're still trying to find that chemistry. What does it look like? How does it feel? How should I throw that ball the next time? See, he already has it with CeeDee Lamb. He already knows how and when and where I can go with CeeDee Lamb and what he's going to do on the other end. That trust is being built between him and George Pickens. And as that continues to grow, that offense will continue to expand, and you'll see it blossom and grow so beautifully. And those numbers will only go up and up and up for CeeDee, for George, and for Dak. And hopefully for this offense, and that equates to wins. I don't know if it'll equate to wins. I will tell you that they will have some of the best numbers in the National Football League this year.
Yes, indeed. Something I said on this podcast in the past. I've said it publicly and privately. Let's talk about the defense in a second. But I said this iteration of the Dallas Cowboys in 2025 will probably mirror the Cincinnati Bengals from 2024. Great quarterback play, great pass catchers, a lot of points scored. Defense, let's talk about that another time. But one thing we do know is that the offense is going to be proficient and efficient, especially with the way Shotty's drawn things up so far.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'd also want to give another shout out to Javonte Williams, go Tar Heels. Yes. But the way that Javonte was, and as I was going back, I was watching the film from week one, watching it this week, reviewing it from the game, I started looking at, okay, how they running Javonte. And a lot of people thought when they brought in Javonte that, this is not a guy who has the juice. He had a down year last year, coming back off the knee injury. And then I started thinking to myself, man, the style in which Javonte runs is a very physical style of football. When you look at who Brian Schottenheimer brought in to be his co-offensive coordinator, his offensive line coach, they're coming from the Arizona Cardinals. And Javonte Williams runs look very similar to James Conner runs. They're very physical. They're very tough-nosed, hard-nosed running plays. And even James Conner, like he finished the year with a little bit over 1,000 yards. It wasn't always pretty and that wasn't always spectacular. But what he was a runner who didn't get tackled by the ankles, had great contact balance, was running through tackles. And what ends up happening when you have that type of physical running style, when you get to those championship rounds, that third quarter, that middle of the third quarter, late third quarter, all of the fourth quarter, those championship rounds, you have to now make the decision. Do you want to tackle me one more time? Do you want to run into me one more time? Because I'm going to run into you. And so when that happens, guys are a little bit more reluctant to want to stick their head in there. They start doing the arm tackling. They don't want to get in there and thud up, especially when you're talking about playing in a conference and games that necessarily don't come from a physical conference, right? You talk about Baltimore, most of the guys in Baltimore, they want to be thumpers, right? They want to be that kind of AFC North type energy. They want to be thumpers. In Pittsburgh, they want to be thumpers. They're okay with fourth quarter, championship round thumping. That don't always happen in the NFC, right? It ain't always want to be the guys who are in the fourth quarter and want to take on that powerful back. And Javonte Williams is showing himself worthy of being that back for the Cowboys. Again, it may not look like Derrick Henry. It may not look like, James Cook or, one of the other flashier backs, but it's that constant barrage of body blows. And they may just be 2 yards in the first quarter, 3 yards in the first quarter. But by the time you get to those championship rounds, now you're breaking a 30-yard run. Now it's a 7-yard run. Now it's a goal line run. And so they're putting things together. And on top of that, when you add in that George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb combination, defenses are lifted, right? You can't commit 6, 7, 8 guys to the box because that means you have to play one-on-one on the outside. And I don't want to give explosive plays up on the outside, so I put more guys in coverage, and I dare the team to run. And Javonte, in the first 2 games, he's done a pretty damn good job of doing that. 97 yards the last game against the New York Giants.
Javonte, you could call him Terrence Crawford when you talk about the way those body blows were hitting the Giants defense. I mean, when you're getting about 6 yards a pop, running the ball, catching the ball, coming up big in these late moments, a great acquisition brought in by the Dallas Cowboys. And, of course, the offensive line playing extremely well, being able to open up those holes so we can get through it. One thing I will say, and this is me just being the old dude, get off my yard, I still do not like the fact that they allow him to wear number 33. I need everybody to put some respect on Tony Dorsett's name. And, and I'm just going to stop right there because I could go on a tangent about that. We'll just stick to present day. Javonte Williams, you did your thing. So right here, Bleav in Cowboys, brought to you by FanDuel. Jesse Holley, Roe Parrish, the Dallas Cowboys get a victory on their home field in the home opener. Dak played amazingly well. So did CeeDee Lamb, back-to-back 100-yard games. We talked about Javonte Williams, and we talked about George Pickens. But, I mean, all those guys are good. But when you got the best in the business, I'm talking about number 17 in your program that, was a former software engineer that was sitting on the couch with the wifey one day watching the game, looking at somebody miss field goals. And she was like, babe, you can do better than that. And he was like, you know what? You're right. And he went out there, practiced, got his thing together, found an agent. Next thing you know, he's in this league. Next thing you know, he's brought in by the Dallas Cowboys to the present day. Say all that to say he did his thing. He was my offensive MVP last season. What he did on Sunday, were you impressed?
Before I answer that, let me say this. Let me say this for what you started that excellent praise of Brandon Aubrey, but this has nothing to do with football. It's nothing to do with football. It is a moment to have just real talk. When you're picking a spouse, when you're picking a mate, pick the right one. Because the right one, biblically, the right one can burst something in you that you don't even believe. Because think about what you just said. His lady was like, "You can do that, babe. Like, you could do that." He's sitting there like, "Nah, I'm good with this 9 to 5. I'm a software engineer. We're good. Probably not having a problem with paying the bills." And she like, "You can do that." And believed in him, put the battery in his back, and was like, nah. She probably like, while you go do that, I'm gonna hold this down over here. So I just say all that to say, man, there's something so powerful in picking and aligning yourself with the right mate, because it can birth something in you. And now look, now you went from being a software engineer 2-3 years ago to now you're about to get a fat check whenever you get signed, and you're looked at as one of the great kickers of the National Football League. You went from software engineer to now you're looked at as one of the great kickers in NFL history. So I say all that. I say this. Highly impressed by Brandon Aubrey. I just always love the confidence, and talk about confidence from coaching, from teammates. Most teams, when you're looking to get to game-tying field goals, game-winning field goals, you're doing all you can in the passing game to get as close as you possibly can. The Cowboys crossed over the 50-yard line. Was like, hey, we're just gonna run a draw. We're good from here. We're like, you're like, wait, you still got 47 seconds. You got enough. You got a couple more pass plays left in you to get this thing even closer. They was like, nah, we're good. Hey, run a draw. Whatever we pick up, as long as it's positive, we're good. And that just tells you the type of confidence that they have. And listen to Brandon Aubrey talk throughout, this week after the game and how he looks and how he approached this thing. He is very consistent, but he said it. I was listening to him talk on the Pat McAfee show, and he was like, none of my kicks look the same. He goes, I don't have like this, this routine rhythm down. He goes, they don't all look the same. He goes, I just go out there, I work my mechanics, and I kick it. And it's just like playing with house money, man. Again, he's one of the most accurate kickers in all of football. He is a weapon.
Yep.
He is, I mean, a point scorer. And, a lot of times we as athletes, especially like if you're a skill position offensively or defensively, we all say, kickers don't matter. They ain't even really a part of the team, right? Like, those guys are just over there, shooting the breeze, the punter, the kicker, and the snapper. We don't really consider them football players until you need them.
Right.
Until you need them. And
Right.
Brandon Aubrey, man, to have that automatic feeling, because I watched that game like the next person, and I just kept I would have felt more nervous if they had to go down and score a touchdown. Like, not
Right.
saying that Dak couldn't do it, but when it's like, oh, we just need 3, okay, just get close enough, because you just have
Right.
that level of confidence that no matter where the distance is, Brandon Aubrey is going to make it. I mean, like I think the 61-yarder that he kicked, that was good from 70. If
Yeah.
the way that it came in, it would have been good from 70.
Right.
So,
I mean,
man, he is highly impressive, man. He is an assassin. He is a sharpshooter in what he does, and he is a weapon that the Cowboys better pay soon.
yes, they're going to take care of him, no question. We won't worry about seeing him potentially getting to a dispute and maybe getting traded away. Becomes the first kicker in history, first player ever to convert a game-time field goal with no time in the fourth and a game-winning field goal with no time in overtime. That is crazy. And right now, I mean, he does not have the record for longest field goal in the NFL history. Justin Tucker has that record of 66. However, guess who's number 2?
Yeah.
Brandon Aubrey, 65 yards. So let me just say this. I think we just need to get ready, because sometime this season, it might be a game on the line situation. It might be an end of a quarter situation where it doesn't matter, but he's going to kick a 66 or 67-yard field goal. We're going to witness history before it's all said and done with number 17.
I wouldn't be shocked if he kicked a 70-yarder. Coach Schottenheimer even said it. He was like, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I would have been comfortable from 70. Like, so there may come a point in time, I don't know if it'll be in a game, winning situation, or they're just blowing somebody out, they're at home, because the indoor elements definitely help. No wind and anything like that. But I wouldn't be shocked if they were up a couple touchdowns against a team and they're like, you know what? What the hell? Let's give it a shot. Go kick a 70, see if you can do it. And I'm telling you, I would not be shocked if that thing go clear through the uprights, smooth, without an issue from Brandon Aubrey.
Yes, indeed. Shouts out to all our listeners in the Metroplex. Bleav in Cowboys, brought to you by FanDuel, Ro Paris, and Jussie Holly. And by the way, he's the pride of Plano Senior High. Like I said, for anybody in the Metroplex that's listening, he is a local product that grew up in the area, is now playing for America's team. So we got all the good out the way. We can talk about the good. The offense looked amazing. Now, unfortunately, it's time to break out that piece of pie and cut the blame pie out. And it starts on the defensive side of the ball. Listen, when we did our offseason rankings, you ranked the quarterbacks that were going to be the most difficult for the Cowboys to face. We just did 10 because there's no reason to do any more than 10. There's going to be more than 10 opponents. But number 10 was Russell Wilson, because we know that Russell is still a threat. However, we knew he wasn't going to, he's not supposed to be at the time in his career where he's still playing in his prime, but he looked like he was in his prime. He almost passed for 500 yards, had dudes running butt naked, wide open through the secondary. I don't know what coverage was going on. It looked a little bit like a zone. At times it looked like, man, I don't know what coverage it was. When you saw what the Giants offense did to the Dallas defense, what were your thoughts?
Well, coming into that game, my keys to the game was, if the Giants have any chance in being in this game at all, it was going to come between Malik Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson. I thought Wan'Dale Robinson, and especially with Deron Bland not being in, because when they go to 11 personnel, Deron Bland was kicking inside and was playing the slot receiver. They had Kyrie Elam outside and Trayvon Diggs on the other corner. So now when you take him out, you add Reddy Stewart. And Ro, this is that when you take one guy out, you insert another guy who doesn't have the experience, the communication lines are in there. Then you have another guy in Donovan Wilson who's not well at playing in space. I've known that. A lot of fans have known that. Matt Eberflus, I guess he didn't quite get the memo. He didn't watch enough film. But I knew that if they had a chance to win, it was going to be by those two dudes having record-breaking numbers, and not, they're going to have great days. And the Cowboys didn't create any pressure up front. And so what happens is, in a zone defense, one of the one of the factors in a team that runs zone defenses is that you had to get pressure up front, because in a zone, there are windows that are open. Guys aren't running to a spot and have to cover an area. Think about Jim Boeheim in Syracuse and how they run that 2-3 zone, right? That 3-2 zone. There's spots where you can get open, but they use their length sometimes to kind of, to do that. But I got to get ball pressure. I gotta have ball pressure on the guy who's trying to direct it from anywhere, and you didn't get that for Russell Wilson. So what happens is he can there's holes there, and when you don't have the pass rush, he's able to sit there, allow that guy to run through a zone, get to that open space, and deliver the football. And then you take on top of that, you have the miscommunication with guys trying to pass things off. So between miscommunication and no pass rush, because the pass rush is tied to the secondary. The secondary is tied to the pass rush. When you don't have one, you don't have the other. You don't have a good pass rush. DBs don't cover well. Guys don't cover well on the back end. You don't have a chance to get the pass rush. So that's what happened, man. And they allowed Rush to cook. Thankfully, Rush remembered who he was. And Sam Williams finally was able to get to the quarterback, and he threw one at Donovan Wilson to seal the game. But
that was a fair catch right there that he threw to him.
Yeah. And the funny part of the weird part about the whole situation is, if he didn't get pressure and Donovan Wilson was supposed to be deeper than the deepest, he still wasn't deeper than the deepest. Like, if he would have thrown it to Malik Neighbors, it was going to be a touchdown. Like, it literally, if Sam Williams didn't get there and have to make that ball sail higher because he couldn't follow through, Malik Neighbors was even with him, and he wasn't opening up. So I know that ball was going to go right past him. And I'm sorry, Donovan Wilson, but you versus Malik Neighbors in a one-on-one situation, you're probably going to lose that 9.99999% of the time. So yeah, man, there's a lot going on that defense. Guys are not buying in and believing. Guys are not communicating, and it is the simplest defense that they've had to learn in their last three defensive coordinators, coming from Dan Quinn to Mike Zimmer to now Matt Eberflus. This is the easiest one to learn, and there's some disconnect between either the players buying in or just a straight up communication, and also Matt Eberflus understanding you can't put certain guys in too much space. They just can't handle that.
No question. No doubt about it. One of the most entertaining games I've seen. It kind of reminded me of the Cowboys at Washington game last season. We got that video game type of movie script atmosphere. This was game number 1,000 of the Cowboys. We saw 77 points, a record 41 combined points in the fourth quarter, 4 TDs in the final 6 minutes, 6 lead changes after the fourth quarter began. Thoroughly entertaining, as we intend to be right here, as we believe in Cowboys, Jesse Holley and Ro Parrish. So talked about that pass rush. Didn't get a ton of pressure. Yes, it's going to say 3 sacks in the stat line. However, that didn't necessarily tell the story. It wasn't an accurate depiction of the pass rush. So you bring in Jadeveon Clowney, who has signed with the Cowboys. What do we expect from Jadeveon? We know that he's clearly closer to the end than he was the beginning on his 7th team. What do we expect?
I will say this first. Whatever it is that you do expect, wait a couple weeks, okay? This is a guy who, once he got released from Carolina, he was in no one's OTAs. He was in no one's mini camp. He was in no one's training camp. I'm not saying that he wasn't training, but there's a difference between training at your local facility, your local gym, or however you train in the offseason, than you being and getting in football shape. So it's going to take him a couple of weeks to get his sea legs, right? To get back in there, to get his win. And a lot of times, you know, as a player, all right, now I'm right. And so now once that feeling comes back to you, now you're able to get back into your bag and do the things that you want to do. So whatever it is that you think you're going to get from Jadeveon Clowney, give it about 2 or 3 weeks to get him back in the fold of things. But what you do get, because currently on this roster, your best pass rusher and your best run stopper was Kenny Clark. And it wasn't even close. Not Donovan Ezeraku, not Sam Williams, not Dante Fowler, not Marshawn Nealon. Sam Houston was giving you some, but they weren't giving him enough reps. Your best pass rusher and run stopper was big Kenny Clark. You add Jadeveon Clowney to the mix. Here's a veteran guy who has done it at a high level everywhere that he's gone. So he's going to give you that ability to rush the passer, but also he's stout in the run game. He's a full-size defensive end, and you're just hoping that he has something left in the tank. He'll be 33 years old already. So you're just hoping that with him being out for so long that there is still some freshness in him, and that he can come along and help this defense and learn the scheme and help this defense and just be to be a veteran player out there. You know, he's going to play on some selective downs probably this Sunday and going forward till he really gets back and fully conditioned. But in those moments, you just help that name, that presence, when you need that play, when you need that guy to kind of set the tone, when you need that guy to kind of turn that corner or whatever have you, he's that guy. And I don't know Jadeveon personally, but if he is the guy that can come in and put his arm around a player, a guy like Donovan Ezaraku can learn a lot from Jadeveon Clowney. So I think Donovan has the skill set. Donovan needs to know how to work that at the NFL level. It's a lot different than being in the ACC than being in the NFL. And he's learning that the hard way because he's trying. And I think he's not trying, but it's like, oh, yeah, you can't do that this way because they see that coming a mile away, right? You got to understand that there's a little bit different of mindset and athleticism here in the National Football League. So Jadeveon brings a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of experience. He's done it at every level. And, you know, he's a freak athlete, #1 overall pick. So you're hoping that you can find some of that in here. It's a long season, 15 more games left. You just hope that he can be a productive asset to this defense and add more depth to it as they have these other guys come along.
It definitely do need more depth because the Dallas defense has been disappointing after 2 games of the season. Now, we'll just say this. We look at the stats. They're near the bottom of the league as far as points allowed and yards allowed. In this last game against the Giants, they gave up 8 plays of 20 yards or more. Those chunk plays, that's not what you want as a defense. That's the most in the NFL in week 2. So when we're looking at the defense, identity-wise, because first game, we saw that things were solid. They held Saquon under 100 yards. They held both of the primary pass catchers under 100 yards, under 50 yards. Impressive performance. They lose the game. Game 2, not so impressive, but they win the game. So is there an identity or is it too early with the small sample size?
Yeah, they don't have an identity. They're still trying to figure it out because we all thought, you know, coming into this year, you know, we still have to stop the run. We still have to stop the run. And I don't know if they've answered that question. Of course, Kenny Clark has been a great addition. But again, you know, as film gets out there, you know, this week taking on the Chicago Bears, there's things now that Ben Johnson has 2 games worth of film to go out there and watch and see how he can scheme up. And I tweeted this right before the show because I was watching a little bit of the film before I jumped on of the Bears film. And the one thing that I'll say early, you know, in this game is that the Bears schematically, Ben Johnson schematically gives you Caleb Williams is a mobile quarterback, very mobile, will run on you, kind of like, so think of the term of how you have to prepare for a guy like Jalen Hurts, right? You got to either put a spy on there. Guys have to be assignment and disciplined, not giving up the edges, not, giving up containment so he can't run out there. He has a very live arm. He's a very live arm. Not always accurate, but very live. Very live. Can throw it from any platform. Sometimes he'll hit his receiver. Sometimes he'll hit you. But it can go 50, 60 yards in the air. Absolutely no problem. But what Ben Johnson is going to do, and this is going to be critical for the Cowboys defensively, and this is building their identity, right? Ben Johnson is going to challenge your eyes, your communication, your discipline, your consistency. That's what he's going to challenge pre-snap. He's going to make his motions and his shifts and the way that he runs his routes and all that kind of stuff. You're going to have to show up every single down, because the one down that you don't show up, he's going to find an answer. Now, Caleb has to, I don't know what the hell Caleb's going to do, but I just know that it's there. It's there. I don't know if Caleb's going to see it, but you go watch the film and there's guys running wide open on this offense. I don't know what the hell Caleb is looking at times, but if he happens to just hone in and figures it out, it could be trouble for you. So the Cowboys defensively, they don't have an identity right now. And after this last week's performance, trust me, a lot of guys are looking around and saying, what the hell are we going to do? Matt Eberflus is looking around and saying, what the hell am I going to do? Because all I have is what I have. You know what I mean? This is what I got. And and the good coaches, I will say this, the good coaches learn how to adjust and play their players in the proper place and not try to continue to force their scheme on players who aren't fitting any. So if you're trying to force this thing on to certain guys who can't play certain types of coverages, you're going to keep being upset at the end of the day. You have to adjust now and put those guys, well, that means on the field or off the field, put them in a position to succeed. So they're still trying to find their identity defensively.
Bleav in Cowboys brought to you by FanDuel. Ro Paris, Jesse Holly. Before we get out of here, one thing, speaking about making adjustments, we saw that Cooper Beebe is going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks. You bring in Brock Hoffman. We saw him come in, played for the majority of the ending of the game. One little questionable center quarterback exchange, but how big of an impact is this going to be on a young Cowboys offensive line that appeared to be gelling moving forward?
Yeah, and Hoffman has played some center before, so he knows what he's doing in that. But again, it comes down to the consistency. It comes down to, it's one thing to play fourth quarter, a little bit of the fourth quarter in overtime, and you play, 17 snaps, 18 snaps, to when you got to play 70 snaps, right? That's the big difference. And, with the quarterback center exchange, you need to be 100%. That's a big task, to be 100%, right? And so now it's the center is the quarterback of the offensive line. He's making the calls. He's making the checks. When Dak Prescott checks, who the communication going out? That's coming from Brock Hoffman. Hey, we're going Roger, Liz, here, who's going, all that kind of stuff. So Brock has to be ready to do that. He has to be ready to check the checks. And all at the same time, he has to be able to go from under center to shotgun. All of these things matter, because you don't want to kind of limit your playbook of things that you did with Cooper Beebe, just saying, can't do that because those blocks won't be made from Brock Hoffman. So there's a lot that has to go on with that, and just being able to have that cohesiveness up front. When I got to do a dual block and help double team, how do I get to the next level? All those, even the running back, because again, the timing of it all, right? Is he used to a timing of Cooper Beebe? Well, what does Brock Hoffman look like? So the practice is going to be very key this week, and going out there and trying to be as sharp as you possibly can, because one mistake, and that can be a turnover, that can be a critical point of the game that you don't need it. You always want to win a turnover battle, and the last place you want to have a turnover is between the center snap exchange. So it's going to be all eyes on Brock Hoffman this week. They know that. The Bears defensively, they have a new center in there, so I'm sure they'll test that leak early in the game and see if they got it plugged up the right way, or they'll keep attacking it. That's what this football league is about. It's a copycat league. It's what have you done for me lately? And Brock Hoffman's going to have to show up and be consistent for 65, 70 snaps against the Bears on Sunday.
Indeed, exploit those matchups. So Cowboys fans, don't panic just yet because you don't have your starting center. Have some patience. So far, Cowboys 1-1 on the season. Looking forward to the next game where they go to Chicago, my favorite city on the planet. Well,
it's a beautiful city. It's not in the wintertime, though. We're not in the wintertime. Summer, spring, Chicago, definitely top 5 cities in the United States.
See, this is my family's from Chicago, and I'm one of those people that I'm not a discriminatory person of wintertime Chicago. I actually enjoy and embrace the wintertime in the city of the Chi.
You're Eskimo. Bro, Chicago cold in the wintertime, bro, it get to your bones.
Hey, you know what? Hey, shouts out to my dad who's a regular listener. He told me before I moved up there, he's like, son, it's going to make you tougher. And you know what? He wasn't wrong. Because, bro, when I was up there and having to deal with that, having to shovel my way out of the driveway, having to walk down the street, having to layer up just to go down the street to get something to eat, I came back for Christmas and I was like, wait, hold up. It's 40 degrees outside? Psh, let me go outside and work out with just a tank top on. This is what I do now.
I'm born and raised in Jersey. I grew up in the cold. Chicago breaks me down. I've been to Chicago a couple times in the wintertime, and I'm like, man, and you can't get away from it, especially when you're inside the city. That cold gets swirling around the city.
Ooh, that hot.
Man,
it'd be a brick outside. It'd be a brick.
Spring and summer Chicago, it is amazing. And this is going to be great. The weather's going to be good. It's not going to be cold, right? But spring and summer Chicago, sign me up. I'll take that just about over any other city in the United States. I love summer and spring Chicago. The food, the atmosphere, the people, the energy, the entertainment, the art, the agriculture, everything. It is amazing. I can spend days there in the spring and summer. Keep me out of that place in the winter, though. God.
Hey, I'm not mad at it. I understand it. If you ever move to Chicago, just make sure you have a heated garage if you live in a building, and I'll leave it there. Hey, we are overtime right now, just like the Cowboys would in their last game, 3-point victory over the Giants. Jesse, before we get out of here, any words for the people?
Man, like I said earlier, finding the right spouse will keep your life off in the right place. But always remember, man, eliminate the contingencies.
Yes, indeed. Hey, love, respect, and salute.